Hey, welcome to my channel. I'm the late fire starter. And what that means is financial independence, retire early, and late because I started in my 40s. And so what happens when you don't have 30 years, or if you don't want to retire at 65 but a little early? I mean, a lot of people start in their 20s, they may retire in their mid-30s or early 40s. But if you start in your 40s, can you really retire early? I mean, if retirement's 65, can you do it? Well, I believe you can through real estate investment and dividend investment are my two main hacks that I'm using. And so this channel is about my journey to that early retirement and that financial independence. You can look at my other videos and check those out to find out my goals. I'm not going to get into all that right now. Also, you can subscribe to follow along with my journey, which would be wonderful. And please like this video because everybody says that's good with the algorithm. I mean, I only have like 4 of you watching this anyway, so, you know, 4 likes is better than 0, I guess. If you hate me, dislike it. Why not? Let's just be crazy. That probably actually works against the algorithm, but like I said, 4 people, 4 of you, if I'm lucky. And one of them's me, let's be honest. So anyways, I've gone over my dividend stocks and I'm going to go over my changes in one of my next videos, but I've been promising to go into my properties, my rental properties. And I talked about my first property I ever bought in Turkey, but I want to talk about my first rental property today, okay? So, the first property that I bought that ended up being a rental is actually in Los Angeles. So I'm from LA. I moved home from Turkey. I lived in Turkey for a while, and I started working and I bought a place. I bought a condo, a 3-bedroom condo, 2.5 bath in Gardena. The purchase price, this was in 2016, the purchase price was $210,000, okay? It was definitely one of the cheapest things I could find in the entire area. I was buying this to live in. There was a tenant living there at the time. She was a Section 8 tenant. As I went to go look at the place, I realized, you know, she had us take off our shoes and she was taking care of the place. And I realized, you know, she's a pretty good tenant, right? And I looked at what she was paying for rent. And at the time she was paying almost $1,900. It was $1,800 something. And I looked at what my mortgage and all my expenses were going to be. And so my mortgage and my property taxes are roughly $1,100, and the HOA is roughly $300, and then insurance was like, you know, I think it was $20 or something a month. So when I added it all up, I said, all right, this to me was a safe buy. One of the reasons I wanted to buy it was the numbers worked. Now, I wasn't looking for a rental, but the way my mind worked naturally was, if something happens, if I need to move away, if I lose everything, if I don't have a job and I have to live with my mom, whatever it may be, okay, am I screwed? And as I looked at the numbers and I thought, okay, if I move back overseas, if I have no job and I live with my mom, can the rent cover all my expenses for this place? And intuitively, as I looked at it, I realized, yes, it does. Now, I learned a lot since then. I learned that there's expenses that you need to take into account, you know, such as repairs and, you know, management and all these other things that I didn't really take into account at the time, but there was still enough buffer that the numbers worked. So, let's look at the numbers at my very first and still probably my best investment in the real estate market. Okay, so here we have it. This is my property. Okay, so this is just, you know, this year of the 20s. Okay, this is just 2020 so far this year. And what we have here is this is the rent I've collected. So I've raised the rent a few times. It's not $1,800 anymore. So this is the rent I've collected. And so it comes in automatically because it's Section 8. So it's really easy and great. Here's how much my HOA fees are each month. Here's how much I give to the mortgage. I pay about $13 extra. So my actual mortgage, which is the taxes and the mortgage, principal and interest, is, yeah, it's like it's a little less than that. It's like $1,085 or something, 87. I pay my insurance annually, so I paid in January, $300, okay? And then I'm trying to refinance, so I'm just adding those into the cost of this place. So I paid $478 for an appraisal. I paid $191 for HOA docs, and then something happened with the closing, so I had to pay for another appraisal update. The only expenses I've had in 2020 so far, maintenance-wise, are this $365 for pest control. And we've had no special assessments, as you can see here. So we had an assessment in 2019, but there's no assessments so far in 2020. And we just have 2 months left, so fingers crossed. All right, so when you look at this, all right, let me pull up a calculator. Okay. So when you look at this, my starting rent is $23.10. Oops, let's do that. $23.10. Okay, and minus $302.40 minus $1,100, and my insurance. If you go out over all 12 months, so it's 300 divided by 12. So basically you're looking at $25, okay? So minus 25. So I'm cash flowing right now $882 on this property every month. And then when, you know, certain things like pest control come up, you know, that happens. But what people like to do is they like to set aside different money for vacancies, money for repairs, money for capital expenditures, which is like a new roof or some big expenses, and for management. Okay, so I self-manage, so I don't need to set aside any money for that. But let's say I moved away and I needed to manage. Management is normally 10%, so that'd be $231 in management. Okay. Normally for CapEx, for roof and stuff, you would set aside money. However, because this is a condo and I already spent $302 in my HOA, that covers my roof. And there aren't a lot of other major expenses. And so when you look at repairs and CapEx together, what I will do is I will just take out another 10%, which I think is actually pretty generous, right? So let's minus 231 again. And what people do is, for vacancy, they usually set aside 5% to cover the cost of the vacancies. And so 5% of, that would be half of 231, so that would be 1.6, well, we'll round up, okay? So, if I paid a manager, which I don't, if I set aside 10% for any sort of maintenance or CapEx, which I will eventually. I'm going to start using this money to fill up my reserves, but I've just been crazy buying my dividend stocks recently. And if I set aside money for a vacancy, in the event that my tenant moves out and it takes me, I lose a month of rent, right? Then what I'd still be cash flowing is $254.60. So, as you can see, the numbers on this property are great. Not to mention, this has by far been my most appreciating property. I bought it for $210,000 in 2016, and it recently got appraised for $360,000, and it's probably worth $380 now because things are just out of control. So I've earned the most net worth on this property, and I cash flow the best on this property. Hopefully, I'll be refinancing this property soon, and my overall expenses will go down a little bit. Also, the rent should be going up any day now. So the rent's going to go up by about $115, and so that will add more money to my cash flow as well. So I will be building up my reserves because that's important. Once I have my reserves for all my properties, that is what that CapEx and maintenance money is getting built into. And so once I have that money set aside, then it frees my cash flow up for me to live off of. And that's important for the financial independence side of things, because I want to be able to collect and live off of $4,000 of rental income every month, okay? So to get to that $4,000 number, I need to be collecting more than $4,000 in rent, right? Because taxes, management, all that stuff. So I need to be collecting more than $4,000. However, part of what I'm collecting now includes things like setting aside money for CapEx, setting aside money for vacancies, setting aside money for future expenses. If I do that and I build up my reserves to the point where I have them all in place, and then I'm just I am lowering those numbers because now I just need to make sure that I get buffers, right? Then all of a sudden that frees up more of that money for me to live off of. So that's my plan. I'm the Late Fire Starter. Please subscribe, follow along, share this with your friends. I will continue to go through my other properties in future videos. I'm going to go through my new my dividend portfolio with you again, and I have some other ideas on other videos, just general principles, right? So I would love for you to follow along on my journey. Go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the notification, and comment below if there's anything you'd like to let me know, or if you want to share your story, or if you have any questions about my financial independence journey.